What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. I'm LotusAsakura, the one who never knows best, and as you can see here today, I'm joined by the one and only PhiDX to discuss some Tekken 8, man. You guys really enjoyed the conversations that we've had in the past, and honestly, we maybe should be doing them a little bit more frequently, but a pleasure to be joined by him as always, and thank you for joining me.
Yeah.
So
Glad
today,
we're doing this again.
Yeah, so today's video is going to be a little bit of a discussion about having your main character nerfed in a fighting game, as we are both recent victims of the Tekken 8 patch 1.05. Maybe one of us deserved it a little bit more than the other. I don't know. I just feel like one character might have been significantly stronger, but that's just me. But why don't you go ahead and start us off, Fee, with some of your thoughts on how it feels and how you move forward and everything like that when it comes to getting your main character in a fighting game nerfed.
Yeah, I think it's just a new experience for me, believe it or not. Like, patching and nerfing, like, even though I came from League of Legends, like, historically before that, this is new. So, like, the first time I even heard of, like, adjustments in a game was the model 1887s in Modern Warfare 2. The two that, like, you could dual wield the shotguns and you could shoot people from, like, across the map. And they had to nerf that, but I didn't play it until after they nerfed that. So even then, I didn't really know like what it was like to play something really good and then have it be weaker. And then maybe the closest thing after is like I heard about in Smash Bros, like the European version of Melee, some characters were weaker, but that's it. So, and even when I went to League, my characters never got touched. So like it was very rare that my character got adjusted, and even if they were, it was usually a buff. Through Tekken 7, only Noctis only got buffed. So like this is the first time I really invested in a character and cared about it competitively and had it get like heavily adjusted to the point where it affects them.
Hold on, so now I have to, because I know you played Tekken to some degree, because you played Tag 2 a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So wait, did you not play Tekken 7 right at the start, or like right when Noctis was first out? Because he did.
I briefly played it, but I didn't compete, and I didn't like. I was still a League of Legends player.
Gotcha.
So I was only there briefly.
Gotcha. Because I remember Noctis getting. This might have been the only time he got nerfed. I think it was his down back 1+2. It's been so long since I played that character.
Yeah. The big the main man was popularizing the big funny move.
Yeah.
I didn't really play him that way anyways. So it was like, even for me, even if I were playing at that time, I think it wouldn't have affected me too much.
Gotcha. But yeah, other than that, he might have only ever gotten buffed. That was like the one significant nerf I remember him getting. But I feel you. I've always played fighting games, but I never played them as seriously as I do now up until the release of Dragon Ball FighterZ back in 2018. And I got really into Tekken 7 when it dropped, but like I got even more serious with Dragon Ball FighterZ, and that was a game where I was like, no, I might want to compete in this. And in that game, I played a variety of characters. I've played a ton of them over the years, but Bardock was a character who got released as DLC. It was the first DLC pack. And anybody who knows me knows that Bardock and Future Trunks are my two favorite characters in Dragon Ball. So when he dropped, when he released, I was like, he's on the team. Don't matter. He could have been the worst character in the game when I was gonna play him.
But it turned out he was not the worst.
It turned out he was the best character in the game, and so he was the victim of several nerfs moving forward. So this is not my first time, but at the very least, like he was at least really good, man. We're here today talking about Tekken 8, and I don't think Hwoarang was really good, despite what you guys in the comment section will tell me. But we gonna address some of that too. Low key, this might turn into a rant video at some point. Forgive me if that happens, because I'm
happy to let you soapbox.
Oh man. But I mean, the thing is though, is like regardless of the nerfs, I've never been a player who took the game seriously enough or was that concerned about competing at the highest level to where my character getting toned down or changed made me drop them. There were a couple times like in DBFZ's lifespan where like I remember Android 18 got nerfs, but with her it was more so like they changed some of her moves, not in a way that was a nerf, but like the literal way like it was kind of animated and how it felt. So it was like more like a smoothness thing for me.
Like an adjustment.
Yeah. And I didn't really like, they made certain things easier, but the way they made them easier, it was like it kind of changed the muscle memory that I had developed, and also it kind of looked and felt different, and I didn't like that. But more often than not, like a character getting nerfed normally doesn't make me drop them, but I understand why players who are competing at the highest level were like, okay, well, I got to pick up a new character. And I'm of the belief that when you're playing for thousands of dollars or for your livelihood, you got sponsors on the line, all these fans supporting you and everything like that. It's like, yeah, like I don't blame you or fault you, or no one should, for being like, I need to play the best character to give me the best chance of winning.
Right. Yeah. I guess just the close experience I had with DBFZ was I played Blue Goku, Super Saiyan Goku, and Base Goku.
Oh, you were one of those.
And The only thing that they like in the time I was playing from release of the game until like the first few patches, it felt like they just made changes more than they like gutted him necessarily. And I was so casual in that game. I remember my annoyance was like, man, I have to relearn things. Like I learned like some of the loop combos, and I was really bad at those, so it was really cool to learn one. And then when they took that out, I was kind of like discouraged. So I guess it felt like that was the perfect example of me being like a semi-casual in that game, pretty aggressively casual actually.
Right.
And I guess that's a unique insight for me because as a Tekken player, like competing, we get, like you were saying, sponsors and everything on the line. I don't like patches that much as regularly because that, obviously makes it more difficult to do the business part of it.
Right.
But now that I'm thinking about my casual experience in DBFZ as well, I didn't like it either because I was like, well, now I got to relearn all this, and I'm not like a super combo nerd. Like I like watching other people do the combos and I can like appreciate that. But when I learn something, I like the idea of it sticking. So from I guess both sides, I'm like, yeah, man, patches can be kind of annoying. I get that they have to happen because some stuff is really, really like nobody liked Cell on release. That dude was ridiculous. But
it's funny because Cell's one of those characters where like people thought he was kind of hype or at least enjoyed watching him but hated fighting him. And then when he got nerfed, everyone was like, oh man, we miss him. And then now he's back and he's actually at this point, like at this current version of the game, he's probably the best character in the game. Arguably.
Oh my god.
He's top 3 and people hate it. He like his EX perfect attack in that game right now is the dumbest move in the game and they're going through it. So it's like people pick and choose what they really actually like and everything like that. And I understand that like obviously the strength of certain moves or tools that a character has can drastically shift your opinion of them. But I find it real funny because right before we recorded this, I was watching Ketchup and Mustard. I don't know, are you familiar with them at all?
I'm not, no.
Okay, well they are mostly known for NRS, like MK and Justice, things like that. They're twins who have competed in the past and they're phenomenal commentators and they've actually dabbled in some Tekken themselves. But anyway, so they just had like a hot fix or a patch, whatever. And it's funny because he was talking about Cyrax, who was like, is like an assist in that game that got nerfed pretty heavily. And then they accidentally undid the nerf right before like the big finale for their world tour. And then they just fixed it back to the way that it's quote unquote supposed to be. And
he was unnerfed at Final Combat?
Yeah.
Well, how do you do that? How does it happen on accident?
I don't know, man. I don't know. And I guess they just hot fixed it today or something along those lines because he was streaming and he was talking to chat and a lot of people in chat were like, no, man, they should have just let it rock. Like Chameleon's like way stronger. Like Chameleon was doing all sorts of da-da-da-da-da. And he was like, chat, I can't help but feel like when they nerfed Cyrax, you guys were all excited and happy about it. And then when he accidentally got like unnerfed, everyone was like, no, like they ruined the game. Like oh my God, like Cyrax is gonna take over again, da 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 da. And then now, he's quote unquote fixed. And everyone's like, no, why would they do that? They should have let it rock. No, they ruined the game. Or RIP Cyrax is like, yeah, you guys really can't make up your minds. And I definitely feel that. I feel like people definitely change their opinion to just go against whatever the current version of the game is at that time instead of actually expressing what they truly want, because I don't think most people know what they truly want.
No, I would agree. I think what scares me is it feels like there are balanced teams that share that mentality, or are either they share that or they are heavily swayed by the public opinion in that, right? Like and I get it because there's like the business needs of the game as well, but I think it's a bit scary how fickle that can be. Like there was the for Tekken specifically, like the patch note for Yoshimitsu said something like, our changes before didn't increase his appeal.
That's cap.
So we're doing some more. And we were like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like even already, like I remember my first climb up to God of Destruction, the pick rate of Yoshimitsu was way higher than in any game I've seen before. Like I've seen more Yoshimitsus in that first few months of Tekken 8 than I'd seen playing Tekken up through then,
I feel that way about a few characters actually, which I think speaks volumes to how well they have done to making some of these characters more appealing. Now some of that may have to do with their strength, looking at you, Nina Williams, but
oh my goodness.
But yeah, no, I definitely feel you. There are certain characters who I'm seeing way more than ever before, and I don't think they're necessarily struggling to make these characters more appealing. I don't know if Paul needed to be more appealing. I think if anything, his pick rate is down because of the hairstyle y'all decided to go with in this game. You really could have just gave him the Tekken 4 hairstyle, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, no, there is like people do like aesthetics. Like people play the bears, like, people like how things look more than just how hard they hit, and so yeah, I think
pretty damn hard though.
They do. It's a problem, and I think the fact that the patching or the major patching is over is I'm curious how serious they were about that, right? Like I think my understanding is that like the patch notes that take 3 hours to record and go over every character, I think those are done. But I'm hoping that they're still seriously looking at individual characters that can still be problematic. I still think Fang is a problem, even though he's constantly been touched. I still think
is still very clearly really good.
Yeah, I think Dragunov is a great, shows the level of shows strong direction, right? Like they were not afraid to heavily nerf him, and he's still performing very well.
Which I think speaks volumes to just how ridiculous he was in the first place. But you know.
Yeah, Fang player in my chat is screaming Nina. We already talked about Nina. See, like,
but
that's what I mean.
We all know Nina's insane, bro.
Yeah, Nina. I think Brian keeps getting buffed, and he was already good. I didn't think he needed it, to be honest. I think it was a playstyle adjustment that was.
That's
needed.
how I feel about Paul, man.
Yeah. So I really feel like they made these aggressive buffs while we were still learning the game. And I'm hoping that even though they said no major adjustments, that they will still look at specific characters. Because,
yeah, because in the notes, obviously, they expressed that they only want to do things that are like bug fixes, like patching glitches, or like changing or fixing unintended behaviors. Yeah. And like, I'm definitely of the opinion that a game should be allowed to breathe to some degree, right? I do think there's such a thing as overpatching a game. I feel like I experienced that back during my time with Dragon Ball FighterZ, where those first couple of seasons, well, that season 1, there were a lot of patches, and then season 2, they did a thing where we had one patch for the entire season, and everybody kind of hated that. So like, there's got to be like this happy medium, like this happy middle ground, and I don't really know exactly what that is. Is that 2 or 3 big patches? Is that just one big patch in the middle? Like, I don't know. And this is a discussion that I've seen come up multiple times on Twitter. Obviously, Street Fighter 6 was, you know, the topic of conversation for a while, because they weren't really making adjustments to that game until recently. And it's also interesting because as a content creator and as part of the casual part of me as a fighting game enjoyer, right? Patches are really exciting. But as a player and as somebody who's really into it, they're terrifying. For the characters you may already struggle with or don't particularly like getting better, or the characters that you do play are like getting weaker, as we've both just experienced in this patch.
Yeah, and I feel for the tier 1 pros, right? Like, I really feel for them going to like DreamHack in Sweden, quite literally.
What, not even 2 weeks? Like,
yeah.
Was it even a full week?
No, like my tournament was, I think, on the same weekend, and it was 5 days after the.
That's nuts.
So I like stopped making videos, I stopped streaming, and I just grinded, and I was losing. I lost like, I think I went from God of Destruction to like almost Tekken King on Lily. And
I feel it,
I was like, I can't play the game anymore. I'm washed. Like, this is over. Like, I was dooming. And then I started figuring stuff out at the last minute. But like, wow, what a horrible way to reduce your lifespan as a human if you're a pro playing a patched game. You know.
So let me ask you, what was your initial reaction or your thoughts? Because I know you weren't live right away when the patch went out, and obviously you were making some tweets. But like, what was your straight up just reaction upon scrolling down and then seeing the list of nerfs that Lily got, and some of those obviously directly affecting like how you play the character?
Yeah. So I'm breaking my solemn vow of only downplaying my main characters in public. After what has happened, I've realized that everybody who's really, really good in the modern day is downplaying their characters or saying nothing. But I will break that promise today. When I read that, I thought she's fine. Like the first patch read, I was like in bed. I was on my phone reading it. And I'm like, she's fine. Mm-hmm. But I'm not looking for a character that's fine. I'm looking for a character that's stupid.
Facts. And as you should.
Right. So when I saw that, I was really disappointed. I was like, they made adjustments that if I were fighting against Lily regularly, I would be like, yeah, this has to happen. Everything here makes a lot of sense. They probably could have done more. There was still some stupid stuff she had. But I was like, you know what? This is fair. I'm sad that it's fair because I need something unfair. So I spent the day and probably the next 2 days assuming that I was just going to drop Lily. I think I spent the whole days just playing Steve and seeing how good the buffs really were. Like, is it really going to make a big difference? Mm-hmm. And I think my conclusion after is like, well, Steve is obviously one buff away from becoming a monster. That's just not fun for anybody. but Lily is no longer the stupid monster she was. So I felt like stranded. I was like, do I play the character I've been grinding 4 months on to get comfortable with? Or do I stick with Steve, who I have more like legacy experience on, but that legacy experience is geared towards a different metagame, right?
Like
running away.
A pretty
and
different play style that doesn't really lend itself too well to this current game.
And the concerns I had were like, I want to adapt to the new style of the game for multiple reasons. One, like if I'm going to keep educating, it makes sense that I actually understand something of what I'm talking about. And if I were to pick up other characters, it makes sense to have that style, right? On the flip side, there's CEO coming up, there's Evo coming up, and 6 weeks is not enough time to level up a character to a professional level, right? Like for me, even, I wouldn't consider myself professionally viable until like 1.5 years, maybe 2, just because I am newer and I played an easier character in the last. So I'm already on an accelerated timeline to try to get Lily to be like have enough capability to punch up to the world class.
Right.
And then on top of that, they made her less stupid. So
you definitely consider yourself more of the type of player who, I'm not necessarily the best at cracking the code and figuring the game out. I'm really good at, once the game is figured out, I copy the dumb shit, and now I'm able to use that to, to the best of my ability and to my benefit.
Yeah, I'm finding the One Piece after the fact. You know what I mean? Like I'm not accumulating it.
I definitely feel it, because I've never been particularly great either at like, I'm not a lab monster, right? I'm not a tech demon. Like, I'm not the one sitting in training mode figuring out these punishes and this Oki setup or this tech trap or everything like that. I'm gonna let you figure that out, random Twitter user, and I'm gonna copy it, and then I'm gonna use it in ranked, but I'm not the one figuring that stuff out.
Yeah, and I'm even like second layer. I'm watching the pros steal from the Twitter demons, like the lab monsters.
I mean that too.
Stealing from those pros.
Yeah,
right?
no,
so
for sure. For
me, it's even more distilled.
Yeah, that's one of the main ways I learn as well, and it's something that I recommend others do as well. Is like, find a high level player that's competing in a tournament that plays the character that you play and steal from them. Like, again, I always compare everything back to Dragon Ball FighterZ because it's like the game I have the most investment in, and it's what most people here on my channel like know me for. Like, I learned how to play base Vegeta in that game by just copying everything Sonic Fox did. You know what I mean? Who's a pretty great player to learn from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was like the entirety of like where my playstyle came from. Was like, I'm gonna just do whatever they're doing because it's working. But anyway, I want to go back to what you said about like the Lily nerfs being fair, and I want to ask you this question. I want your opinion because, again, I've got a, I don't think people dislike me particularly on my channel. Obviously, they're here for a reason. I mean, there's some haters down there, but there's a lot of people who were dancing and drinking my tears when Hwoarang got nerfed. Like, and I want to know what your opinion is on the Hwoarang changes. Do you think those changes were fair? Do you think they were necessary? And keep it a stack. I want to hear the mind of PhiDX on this in particular, because I think a lot of people here value your opinion a lot, and I want to hear somebody who's not a player of the character speak on it a little bit.
Yeah, and I think I offer a really unique perspective here. Like, not to toot my own horn, but because I play with speed kicks all the time, I have this weird experience of fighting what I would consider like the highest level of Hwoarang style, where somebody has mastered like Tekken and then applies it on Hwoarang. I think Edge plays similarly. From Korea, yeah. So I have the most experience fighting that style of Hwoarang. And I'm really bad at fighting your like PlayStation Network demon Hwoarang that doesn't know how to punish, but knows how to combo and knows how to hit their buttons, right?
Which is most of them.
Yeah. So I think I am equally frustrated by Hwoarang as I am able to see his weaknesses as I fight somebody who is hyper aware of those weaknesses and tries to play around them, right? So when it comes to Hwoarang's nerfs, just repeating what Speed said, he said the power crush was crucial to his neutral, and the fact that they made it back to -14 is really, really bad. And because you can throw punish it now, every character that can throw at 14 frames can launch him now for trying that power crush.
Jack, Claw, Lee.
So I think that nerf is horrendous. Like, that is the most horrifying nerf ever, right? And then on top of that, down 3-4 is really obnoxious, right? But the very base counterplay is it's sidewalkable to the left, and same with Skyrocket. So his basic mid-low mix-up is you can move to the left. So I didn't feel like those were the things that were really annoying me as a Hwoarang opponent, right? Even against the all styles, right? So to have them do the nerf where they made the launch punish easier, obviously I love that as an opponent, but I can empathize with that as someone like when I play Lily and I do her stomp and it gets blocked, I'm still tweaking, and it's only minus 11. Hwoarang has to risk his life just to earn like whatever, and they give him like a compensation 3 damage or something. I think that nerf was insane too.
Bro, okay. So here's my thing, right? I feel like a lot of characters in this patch got buffs and nerfs, right? Yeah. And a lot of the characters who got nerfs, they got something as compensation. They got something in exchange to make up for what they were losing.
Right.
So I find it very ironic that the philosophy behind this patch is to highlight the uniqueness of these characters and make them more appealing and make them more individual as opposed to like just another homogenized Tekken character, right? That's why we saw the change that we've seen to Azusena. Nerf her fundamental tools, make her unique stuff more powerful. That's why we saw the change we saw to Victor. Nerf the power crush and the dumb stuff and make it so you have to use more of the stances and everything like that. And whether or not you like those changes or not, that's up to you, and whether or not you want to continue playing that sort of playstyle is one thing, but that was the philosophy of the patch. Let's make these characters more unique. Let's highlight their individuality and nerf the generic stuff. So then you go to Hwoarang and you take, in my opinion, the 2 most important moves in his entire kit and what makes him Hwoarang, and you nerf them, and then don't give him anything in exchange. And on top of that, he wasn't that strong to begin with, and you even acknowledged that yourself with your own words in the patch. His performance wasn't excessively high or something along those lines, what they said. So it's like, okay, so y'all just spitting in my face is what you're telling me. Honestly received the shortest end of the stick in the patch, in my opinion. Yeah,
I think Devil Jin players will have a problem with that sentence, but
okay, well, he's down there too. I think those might be the 2 worst characters in the game right now.
Yeah, but it was weird to approach to me because I think the thing that's tormenting people at low and mid level against Hwoarang is the scrub stuff, right? So like in my mind, things you could patch is like make his backlash like more minus, or make it even like you could debate making it unsafe, you could make it slower. You could make he has like the counter hit in heat, like he could go 2 into flamingo stance and then like launch you if that counter hits, like that shit's cool. Launch. I'm sure like at lower level people are just mashing it out, so you can adjust that. You could adjust like his the forward 4, which is already like weaker at a high level because people can just move around it, but is
I've watched Kwis die in tournament for that movie specifically.
But probably really annoying for noobs. So like adjusting that probably makes adjustments to your target audience, right? Like if you make it more minus, make it safe. You could do things like make Skyrocket unsafe, right? Like that move is crazy.
Don't do that.
But to hit his backup neutral options, right? Like when your opponent has shown you that they can kind of play, and then I feel like your only options are that power crush and you're down 3-4, and then you nerf those, it's like you really, really screwed them over. So
yeah.
And so I feel like they should have targeted the mid and low level especially, and I don't think targeting down 3-4 and the power crush, I mean it does target the mid and lower level, but it also was the thing keeping him alive, right?
Right. And I'm so glad to hear you address that and make those points because I mentioned before we started this recording that like I might end up ranting in this video because I legitimately had it like in me, like the kind of like, I don't necessarily want to say anger, I don't know if that's the right connotation, but it's just like the frustration, I think is more so the word I'm looking for, with seeing the response that like Kwis and I were getting to our opinions and our reactions to the changes, right? I saw so many people like parading that Hwoarang got nerfed. Oh, you deserved it. You're carried. You're scrubby. Da 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 da. Like all sorts of stuff. I don't know if you saw the tweet that I put out of just like a screenshot of a bunch of the comments that I was getting.
I saw that.
Yeah, and it's just like a never-ending cesspool of that. But the ironic part about it, and what would have been the basis of that rant video, which I still might do, is that what you guys fail to understand, for those of you who are super happy and excited about this, is that the changes they made to him are not going to help you. If you're
be just as miserable.
If you're somebody who was already be miserable and getting curb stomped by Hwo, that's not going to change. You're still going to struggle in that matchup. If you're somebody who refused to put in the work, didn't lab, didn't know to sidestep or sidewalk to the left, if you didn't know any of that, you still don't know any of that. You're still going to lose. So it's not affecting you in as much of a positive way as you think you are, which is the ironic part to me about it. Like, dog, you're still going to get washed.
Yeah, I think the nerf I would have liked most is probably his right stance, like the jumping heat engage homing thing. That move is way more annoying for me to deal with than the neutral game. I do play Lily, but I do play Lily and Steve, but I feel like that move allowed him to continue his pressure. And yes, it was jab floatable, but it was a weird game to play between the jab float threat and the like counter hit wall splat threat, right? So like I was personally like, if you were gonna touch anything, like that one makes sense to me because most homing mids usually are unsafe, or not unsafe, but like they give up your turn, right? So to have that heat engage homing and like low crushing, I was like, maybe they could adjust the frames on that.
I guess the thought process behind it was that he has to be in, right foot forward stance. Yeah, and it's kind of slow, but I don't know.
Yeah, and but the thing is, he could like, I'm willing to give him a pass on that when Lee has a +2 no stance homing mid counter hit launcher, right? So like what are we really doing? And I think like it's so funny because as someone who competes a lot and fights people who are abusing the stupidest things about their character, Hwoarang does not bother me that much. I've always felt like, okay, I can get more experience, I can do the work, and I'll be better. Like these the hardest thing for me is that the PSN style player is probably not the type of player that will sit down and play a long set with me. So that's the struggle more than this character is really dumb.
So you feel like I remember sometimes.
Yeah. You mentioned the comments, and for me, it's never because I don't play Hwoarang, I don't get that style of comment. I get a bit of it for Lily, but I get a lot of like reactionary hate from King players and Kazuya players.
I get a lot.
So when I did my
Kazuya
patch note review, I pre-recorded all 8 recordings of Kazuya doing different like wave dash timings to explain to people who don't understand how to realign. Like there's a lot of depth here, and it's cool. Until you give them a plus frame mid out of the wave dash, right? And then I also thought like the excitement they have to keep buffing King. Understandably, the system mechanics did nerf him, but like they keep buffing him in ways that feel less interactive, less rewarding of skill, like giving the wave dash to everybody instead of the people who really took the time to practice that unique wave dash.
Right.
Is an interesting choice to me. Right. It feels like almost like they gave the patching, and I don't know if this is true or not, but it feels like they gave it to different people with like segments of the cast to different people with different opinions. And then when they all came back together, they just threw those changes together. You know what I mean?
Yo, now that you put it that way, what? That can't, they wouldn't, right? That don't make sense.
I certainly hope not. But like, I'm curious, like which guy on the team really loves King and which guy on the team really hates Hwoarang and Devil Jin. And then they're like, okay, go to your corners, do your work, and come back. You know what I mean? Like,
Devil Jin being this week is mind blowing to me, by the way, because he's just been top tier forever. So it's just,
since he came out, right?
Tekken 5. So like, it's just mind blowing to see him like actually be kind of bottom tier.
I my personal opinion is I've been hell swept enough times to be okay with it, but I do feel for the people who are spending the time doing these optimizations, learning these setups, creating these situations, and then having them target removed. That feels pretty whack.
Especially because
I would hate that.
He's not the easiest character to play either. So it's like a lot of work for very little reward, which I'm no stranger to. I feel like I've played my fair share of characters that were a lot of work for reward that was being exceeded by characters who were putting in significantly less effort. Y'all might feel differently about that because, oh, you play Hwoarang and you don't have to try it all. It's like, oh, all right, man. Oh, sure, Mr. Garu rank, I'm sure you know a lot more than I do. But,
yeah, and I think the idea of an effort curve is also something that that I don't hear talked about much, where like a character is really hard to pick up and then becomes really, really like streamlined. So like I think of characters like Lee and Steve as that kind of archetype, where the initial task of picking them up and learning them is probably horrible for a new player, right? Especially someone with no Tekken experience. Like even me picking up Lee is going to be like, I'm going to have to do some work. But the process after that, where you are just kind of like Steve less as much in this game, but at least in Tekken 7, Steve, you could kind of learn his cancels, like the stances, and then cruise control the high rank. Right. And I think Lee is very similar, where if you can do the execution, he is designed to just pick a button and go, and it will probably counter hit launch, right? Like, so yeah. I think that the effort curve is something to consider as well, and that's probably the hardest thing to patch around. How can you patch and make a character interesting to the people who won't practice that much without making him completely broken for the people who will practice? right?
Yeah, I definitely don't envy the job of the developers and the balancing team and everything like that, because to me it sounds like nearly an impossible task, because you're never going to satisfy everybody, right? And trying to find that happy medium or that middle ground where it's like, okay, we reward these players but not reward them too much, but make these players make this accessible to these players but not too accessible, because then it's way too accessible for the high level players, you know. And it sounds like a losing battle, honestly, which is why I never want to be too harsh on them, but every so often there are certain things where I'm just like, I just cannot possibly fathom the thought process behind this. And I'm looking at those full changes as something like that, where like I don't understand. I just don't.
So do you see, you've already mentioned that, you know, you're not like a tournament circuit player looking to like stake your livelihood on your tournament performance or anything, but is Hwoarang still your character? Do you see yourself pivoting, like like learning a secondary?
So I've already been learning a secondary in Reina. So I've been playing I've been playing a decent amount of Reina, and recently I was playing her more than Hwoarang. I hadn't really been practicing a whole lot, because when I got really into learning her, I was like, man, this character is like really, really fun, and obviously she's very strong, and I think it's just going to continue to be the case, even though she also got some nerfs in this patch. I think she's probably in that conversation for being a top tier character, and she's she's still very, very strong. So yeah, those are still going to be my two characters. I'm a Hwoarang / Reina player, and that's just going to continue to be the case unless a DLC character that I really think is sick comes along. I want to try Lydia. Lydia also looks really cool, and then we'll see what the future holds. But yeah, I'm going to keep playing Hwo. To me, those are the two sickest characters in the game to me, is Hwo and Reina, so I have no intention on dropping either of them.
Sweet. Yeah. No, I feel that. And honestly, after my recent Lily performance, I'm still considering keeping her in the pocket, because I think that having a defensive movement character is always going to be good, and she's one of the defensive movement characters that can still hit people, which is really, really weird, right? Like Steve, the weakness of Steve is he can't really hit people. Well, he can, but it's like it's not supposed to be as scary as him counter hitting.
Right.
And Lily has the weird thing of it's scary to hit her, and you can't sit too still. So I think that is really valuable in a character. But I think after Evo shopping around, I think Yoshimitsu looks really cool, and I don't think they'll nerf him. People tell me Elisa's a good fit, although
I think that character's so stupid.
She's really stupid.
The two characters that, and this is the thing, like when I think about like what happened to my character, I look around, I'm looking at Nina and Alyssa, to me, were the two biggest offenders, where I'm like, they get the slap on the wrist, but y'all gut my character?
Yeah.
Who's so much
I don't
weaker
think Elisa
than them?
even got slapped. She got like side-eyed, you know?
Right. I'm like, yo, like these characters are menaces, and you just like, you know, shrug your shoulders, but Hwoarang, oh no, we gotta chop his legs off.
Yeah,
man.
So I really want to learn Nina. I think understanding myself as a player, that might be a tall task. But I do think Nina is really, really cool. But yeah, I think Yoshi, Elisa, Nina, and there's probably a character I'm forgetting, but those seem like the best fit. I don't like how Elisa pokes. It's the same reason I don't play June. It's like they could have a 13 frame down forward one, and it feels like 18 or 20 or 30 frames. It's so slow feeling. So that's the only thing I don't like. But the character plays to my strengths for sure, of forcing you to attack enemy over and over and over again, and I just have to hit you like twice.
I mean, I feel like it fits you, but hey, at the end of the day, the heart wants what the heart wants, and if it don't speak to you, then maybe it just don't speak to you. But I also understand that like those are not characters that you normally play, and you being the type of player you are, it's like it's gonna take a lot of time, effort, and work to like get them to the point where you would feel comfortable playing them, especially like at a tournament level. So
exactly,
I definitely understand the struggle for sure. I don't necessarily relate to it, obviously, because like you play at a higher level than I do. Like I play at an intermediate level online, you know what I'm saying? I hold my own, but you won't be seeing me on top 8 on any stages anytime soon.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think what I enjoy about this conversation so much is that there's clearly upsides and downsides to the patch culture at all levels, right? Like
100%.
Yeah, it feels like an unfortunately necessary business move to be very patch active, because the fan bases are so fickle. There's so many options, right? But wow. Having it, I saw a tweet, I think it was like, it feels like having your save deleted or something.
That's
like if you've been leveling a character.
Yeah, that's a really good
in
analogy.
Like an RPG.
It's like you put in like, all this work and then it's just gone in an instant. There's nothing you can do to get it back.
Yeah, that sucks. That's probably the main thing. It feels like your save gets deleted, or you like revisit a game and it's not the same way you remember or something. Like your save got bugged. I don't know.
Right.
It's pretty whack.
Yeah. Like I said, patches are exciting, but they're also terrifying for that reason exactly. Where it's like, yo, everything you could have known and loved can just be gone in an instant. That said, though, I think this was a really enjoyable discussion. Hopefully the viewers enjoyed it as well. Do you have any like closing remarks or anything you want to add to this before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I guess I still have an optimistic take on it in that I was always kind of aware that this early season of Tekken is the beta test, right? We're playing the arcade location test where things are supposed to be stupid and get toned down. So I'm more concerned about the buffs than I am about my character getting nerfed. I think that they'll eventually find their way based on the way that they are. Well, maybe not, but I think the way they targeted Lily gives me optimism that they can see other characters in a similar way, right? There are little rays of hope there. So I think if they continue toning people down, the system has already been toned down so much that defensive play is a lot better. It's harder to be like to checkmate people. So I think like with that direction, if they can really, I think just bring down the top tiers. I really don't think the bottom tiers need that much buffing. To be honest, I think that it's more fun when there are exploitable weaknesses and both players are playing around that. So that's probably my last optimistic take, because I think they'll keep getting better and better. The only concerns are buffs and then DLC. But yeah, at least it'll slow down now.
So far, I think I really like the system of Tekken 8. I think Tekken 8 is a incredibly fun and really cool game. Very frustrating. Tekken is always frustrating. Fighting games in general are stressful, and to me, like Tekken's the most stressful one. But it's also the most rewarding. And I felt like this game was more frustrating than Tekken 7 in certain ways, in certain instances. But I really like the direction they went with this patch in terms of like the system, the game itself. I think they did a really good job of toning things down that we felt were a little bit too strong or oppressive without affecting negatively the identity of what the game is and the direction that they want to take things in. You know, like obviously we still have heat and heat smash and heat burst and all those things, but now it's not, like you said, like heat burst isn't a checkmate now anymore. You know, there's more counterplay to it. Because one of the things that frustrated me a lot was like the lack of counterplay to heat burst and heat smash, and I really wanted those to be steppable. And now they are. Like that was a specific change that I asked for, that I got in this patch, and I'm like ecstatic about it. So I think the future of the game is bright. I think the game itself, like I said, the system and the mechanics are in a good place, and they definitely went in the right direction as far as I'm concerned, in my opinion, even though I may not agree with some of the character changes. And obviously with time, players will figure things out. You know, the game will get learned more and figured out more, and things will kind of come to more of like an even playing field to some capacity, and we'll see what the future holds in terms of updates and changes and DLC and further patches and everything like that. But I think it's in a good place. Change Hwoarang back though. But anyway, yeah, I think that's gonna do it for us today, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you enjoyed this discussion. Pleasure as always conversing with Phi. I would love to have him on the channel more and also be featured on his channel more, because I think you guys really enjoy this content. I feel like whenever he and I do talk, it results in some really good conversation. But I appreciate you guys for hanging. Be sure to follow PhiDX. Links to all his stuff will be in the description down below. You can find him on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. He makes incredible content that I highly recommend, especially if you're somebody who wants to take learning Tekken more seriously, educate yourself, and take your game to a higher level. With that being said, that's pretty much all for today. Remember, let the kid have a tea, swing the bat. Later.